continue from here. So as I said, we're looking at simplifying complex numbers. Yeah, and as I said that these here are what will help us simplify whatever we have here. Understanding that I squared is equal to -1, and of course I is equal to root of -1. And of course the rest will be playing around with the rules of surds, which we already know by now. So notice with question 1, we have I. So we've started now. Question 1, we have I to the power 12. So how can we write this? So you notice that this is the same as writing I squared, then the power 6. Because this here, the 6 and the 2 multiply, then you have the 12 which you have there. And of course, we can just further simplify this to being, since I squared is -1, then I'll say -1 where I squared is, and I have 6 there. And I know that a negative number raised to an even power is just going to give me what? A positive value. So this here will just give me +1. And that's how I what? That's how I simplify. Okay, so that's how you do that one. Are we together? We've started. Sorry for the network challenge, but are we there? Okay, let's respond if we are together before I continue with the other questions. Okay. All right. So thank you for that. Please, guys, it's a live class. So yeah, if I didn't want you to respond, you would have sent a recorded video. But now we're looking at this is a live class. That's why you have to just respond and yeah, be able to ask. So now when you look at the next one, it's I to 18. And we can actually do the same thing where we just factor out the 2 there, such that you have I squared, and that gives you 9. And you know 9 by 2 gives you 18. So you're safe there, and you get your -1 to the power 9. This here is an odd number, it being odd, meaning you get a negative value there, and you just have that will be equal to -1. Okay, then going forth, the next one you have I to the 99. So how do you work out this one? So I to 99. You see that when you split this one into 2, you just you have a rational number in the power, and of course you don't want to work with that. So what you do is you notice that having I like this, I then multiplied by, so I multiplied by I to the 98 is the same as I to the 99, because the rules of indices says when we are multiplying uh, with the same base like this, you can keep the base and then add the powers. So I here has the power what? Has the power 1. So when I'm adding that, so I'll add to 98, and this here gives me I 99. So getting that, this so shows me that my I to the power 99 can just be written as I by 98. Then I can simplify this part, which has what? So I have I here, okay? I have I there, just I. So I here, then after I know the other one that I have there is what? This here is being multiplied by, I can write this factor out, say I squared. So 2 divided into this part here, you get 4, remember 1, so you get 49 like that. So then this gives you I multiplied by this here, I squared is just going to be -1, then you have 49 like that. So 49 is an odd power. So it being an odd power means you're going to get what there? You're going to get -1. So this gives you -1, you multiply the -1, and this just simplifies to I. So that's how you work out part C. Okay, so let's do next part. All right, so now the next part is I to the 120. So I to 120, Observe, this is just the same as saying I squared, then it says 60. Because when you multiply that there, you just get 120. And this here gives you negative 160, and this will give you, since this is an even value, you get positive 1 there. Then you have I to 101 like that. So this here you can write as I multiplied by I to the 200 like that. Then you say I multiplied by I squared like that to the hundreds. Then you have I multiplied by negative 1 to the power 100. And this here is going to give you positive 1, and you just get that your answer simplified to I. So that's what you get there. Then for the next one, you have I 4n minus 2. So remember, when do we subtract when we're dealing with indices? Whenever we are dividing. So this is the same as saying I to the 4 of n divided by I squared, like this. So this is the case as which is given there. So now, having that there, how do we work that out? So notice that on top, you can factor out, you can have I squared, then you have 4, you have 2 there, 2n. Because when you multiply this, you get 4n. Then down there, you just have your I squared. And of course, I squared, you can replace there. So when you replace there, you get negative 1, the power 2n like that. Then you get there negative 1 as well. So you notice that this here, when you multiply, you square negative 1, you just get positive 1, then multiplied by the n, you get 1 to the power n. Then there you get negative 1 like that. And of course, this here is just going to give you negative 1 to the power what, n. But then any value that we put here where negative 1 is, you see that it's just going to be giving you the same negative 1. So you end that the value that you get there is negative 1. Okay. Don't know if you have any questions. All right, so let's do the next ones. So you have I to the power 4n. Of course, that can be written as I squared to the power what, 2n. And of course, that is the same as saying I to the power 2n. And this is also the same as, so when you square this, you just get negative, get positive. So you get positive n like that. 1 to the power n. And 1 to the power n, any value I place here, any value I'm going to place here. So n is valid, in fact, n is valid for all real numbers. And you see that this here is just going to simplify to 1. Because any value I put here, whether I put 0, this gives me 1. Whether I put n to the power 1, this gives me 1. When I put 1 to the power negative 1, I notice that I can rewrite this as 1 over 1, and this gives me 1. So any value I'm going to put, as long as it's a real number, it's going to give you 1. Okay. So the next one, you have I to the 4n plus 1, and this here is just going to be written. So you add in the power there when you are multiplying. So meaning what they are multiplying is I to the power 4n, I to the power 4n multiplied by what? By I. And you can see, notice that this is what we've been doing, of which we've even obtained here, that this part is just going to give us 1. So you can do the same thing, but since we've already done it, we just write 1 multiplied by I, and this here is just going to give us I. So that's what this part simplifies to. So moving on to part I. So I, you have I to the power negative 5 like this. And this here, check that you can rewrite this as 1 over I to the 5, like this. So now rewriting this in the denominator, what we can do is say 1 over, so I can write that as I multiplied by I to the 4th. And this is going to be 1 over I multiplied by I squared, then I have a squared there. And this is going to be 1 over I multiplied by, so that gives me -1 squared. This here will give me +1, and I just get 1 over I like that. So of course 1 over I is just the same as I to the -1. So this is where I finish up. All right, so next, what I have there is you have 1 over I cubed like this. And of course, this here down is just from similar with what we're from doing. So we can say I multiplied by I squared. And I know I squared is just -1. And I'll say that multiplied by -1. And this here is just going to give me 1 over -I. And of course, it's the same as -I to the power -1. And this is what that simplifies to. Okay. Or leaving it as that fraction would where you had 1 over -I is still okay. Okay, so next you have I to the -15 like this. And of course, this here can be written as 1 over I to 15. And this is going to be 1 over I multiplied by I to the 14th. And this here I can write as 1 over I, then multiplied by I squared, then I know 7 there. So when I multiply the 2 by the 7, I get that 14, which I have there, and have 1 over I, then, okay, so that there I'll get -1 to the power 7. But this is an odd power, meaning I'll get a negative down there, and I'll just get 1 over -I. And so this is just similar of same answer which we found, saying -I to the -1, like that. So this gives you that value there. Okay, and the last one for part 1 of the questions is just going to be, so you have I raised to the negative, you have -1002 there. So this is the same as 1 over I to the 1002 there. So you can then divide this by, can divide that by 2. So observe that when you divide the 1002 by 2, you get 105. So here you check, you have 1 over. So there you can have I squared, then that's going to be 101. So that's an odd power, that is -1. And I have 1 over -1501. That's odd, so this gives me -1. So I have 1 over -1, and this gives me -1. So that's what simplifies to. All right, do we have any questions on how to simplify these? Okay, so there's no question. Yeah, so they're saying write each of the following in terms of I, perform the indicated operation, and simplify where possible. So we have A, they're saying we write it in forms of what? Of I. So just going to do that, and we say root of -4, then you have root of -16. So you can simplify this by saying what I'm doing here in the first part, I'm just saying -1 multiplied by what? By 4. Then I can do the same on the other one, where I have -1 multiplied by 16. Then of course, this here is just going to be, I can separate them to say -1 multiplied by root of 4. Then there I have root of -1. Then there I have root of 16. Then here root of 4 gives me 2. Root of -1 is what? Is I. So I get this here. Then for the second part, root of square root of 16 gives me 4. Then square root of -1 just gives me I. And of course, when I multiply these two here, I just get 8I squared. Now the I squared here, of course, they did say we write in terms of I, but then they're saying simplify where possible. So we can simplify this I squared, and I can write 8 there, -1, and this here is going to give me -8. And like that, I've simplified. Okay, we do the next one. Remember, if you have any question, feel free to ask. -25, and you have -9. So simplify it in the same manner. You say -1 here, then you have -25. I'm sure that step we know where, yeah, where we're multiplying, where this is coming from. Same -1, then you have -9. And of course, this is just going to be 5I, and that there's going to be 3I. And when you multiply this, you just get 15I squared, and this here is going to give you -15. So that's what you get there. Okay, the next one, we have division. So you have -36 divided by root -4. Observe that that is the same as negative. Okay, so that is the same as writing -1 root of 36 divided by -1, of course. Then you have root of 4. This here is going to be on top, you just get 6I. Then you have down as you have your 2, you have your 2I, like that. So now this here you can divide, of course, this. And what do we get when we divide? What do we get? Hello, are we together, guys? What do we get when we divide this? Okay, so you get 3I, like that. All right, so next you have -64 over -16. Write that as -1, -64, -1, -16. This here is going to be equal to 8, because 8 by 8 is 16, is 64. Then you have I. And of course, you just have root of root of 16, which is like 4. Then you have I, and of course this simplifies to 2I. So you have that there. All right, so that's how you do these sets of questions. I don't know if there are any questions. Okay, move on to the last part for today's class. We have 2 minus I, then you have 3 plus I, like that. They're saying find the real and imaginary part. So we have to work this out first to find the real and imaginary part. So I just multiply this with this, then multiply it again with that value there. Then I'll multiply this with that, then I'll multiply that with that there. And of course, this here is just going to be equal to, so I do the first set of multiplication. So I'm multiplying 2 multiplied by 3 plus I. Then I multiply that -I multiplied again by 3 plus I. And this here is going to be 6 plus 2I. Okay, 6 plus 2I. Then I are going to get -3I. Then I have minus I squared. And this here is just going to give you, simplifies to 6. Here you subtract, you get -I. Then you have this here, 1. The I squared is just -1. This multiplies, simplifies to positive, and you have 1 plus 6, which is 7, minus I. So your real part is 7, and your imaginary part is there, which is -1. That's your going to be your imaginary part. All right. Okay. So that's how you do that. Then we have the other one. So you do the same for the next one, and this one says 1 minus. Okay, that's not 1 minus. Okay, so you have 1 minus I cubed. So this is the same as multiplying the first two. That's 1 minus I minus 1 minus I. Okay, I'm multiplying the whole 3. So like this, 1 minus I, of which you can multiply these first two, then multiply the other two. Then you just get, so you multiply the first two, you're going to get 1 minus I minus I, then you get plus I squared. And this here has to multiply with 1 minus I. And this here is going to give you, simplify what's here. So on the I squared, that is negative what? Negative 1. So you get 1 minus 1, which is going to be 0. Then you have negative 2I here. You can add the 2. Then you have 1 multiplied by I like that. So you can multiply this further, and you just get negative 2I. Then, of course, that will be plus 2. Okay, that's going to be plus 2I squared. Then, of course, there you replace your -1. Then you just get negative 2I. Then that will be minus 2. Okay, so that will be minus 2. And this here is just going to give you, you can write this as 2, then minus 2I. You see that your real part there is -2. Imaginary part also is -2. So that's how you work out this one. Okay, so do the same for this part. We just do the same as we did in the first one. Okay, we can just do it. So you have 3 plus 4I, then 3 minus 4I. And so this here, you see that you get 9, 9, then that will be minus 12I, then you have plus 12I, then you're going to get minus, that would be 16I squared. So this here will give you 9, you get negative, then that there is going to give you -16, and that will be positive, and you just see you have plus 16, and this here is going to be equal to 25. So what this means is that your real part is 25, and your imaginary part is what? Is 0. So real part 25, imaginary part is 0 there. The other way, when you have this difference of two squares, how you get your value is just square this and square that. So you observe that when you square, that's minus the I. So just squaring those coefficients. So when you square 3, just square 3 squared like that, plus then you square the 4 there. Then you see that you're just going to end up with 9 there. Then you end up with 16 there, and that is going to give you 25. This only works when you're dealing with difference of two squares, as in this question. So that's why we use that approach. Okay. So you have 3 plus 3I, then divided by 4 minus I. For this one, what you do is you rationalize the denominator. So if and when the video cuts this class, just use the same link to rejoin. So multiplying by the conjugate in the numerator and in the denominator, you just get that you have 4. So you have 4 here. The conjugate of 4 minus I is just 4 plus I. And also you multiply that in the denominator. Then you get there on top, you get, that would be 12, 12 plus 3I. Then you have plus 12I Okay, so this is 2. So that's supposed to be 2. So if that's 2, you're going to get, okay, so that is 12, and that is 3i, then that is going to give you 8, 8i. And then the other one that just gives you plus 2i squared. Then down there, we can just do what we did, which is saying, so I square 4 squared plus then the I, of course, there's just going to be 1 that I'm squaring like that. Then after that, I know I'm going to get the value that I need. So here, what do? I have 12. I can add these 2, then I get 11. So that will be plus 11i. The 2i squared, the 2i squared just gives me negative 2. So I have negative 2 here. Then divided by 4 plus 4 plus 1, which is going to be, no, not 4 plus 1. That is 8. That is 16, I mean. So 16 plus 1. Then you have, you get, so on top there, you're going to get 10 plus 11i, then divided by, you add those, you get 17. So adding those, get 17 down there. You conclude that your value, of course, we can write to say that will be 10 over 17 plus 11 over 17, then I. So meaning your real part is this part here, the 10 over 17, and your imaginary part is the 11 over 17. So that is how you work out this. Yeah, so next you have those two, and okay, so you're adding 3 plus I plus 3 over 2 plus I. Okay. Okay, can I repeat where exactly? Somebody who's asking, you can, where should I repeat? Just unmute your mic and feel free to speak. Yes, okay. Is the person still here? Oh, okay. So, as I say, this is an interactive session. Always feel free to ask. So when you see I minus I, let's do this manual multiplication plus I. I guess this is the question where the question is. So multiply this by that there, you get 16. Then multiply by I, you just get that will be 4I. That will be plus 4I. Multiply it like that there, you get negative 4I. And this there cancels out. Then multiply this by that, you get negative I squared. Observe that this is 16. 4I minus 4I gives me 0. Then I have negative I squared here. So that would be negative. Where there's I squared, I replace my negative 1 and I get positive. So I get 16 plus 1. And this here is going to give me 17, which is the denominator which we found there. So what we are saying here is, so when you have a difference of two squares like this, which is always when you're multiplying a conjugate by what? By its conjugate. So when you're saying 4 minus I, a conjugate of a complex number, they just differ the sign. So where there's 4 minus I, on the other one, there has to be 4 plus I. Then when you're doing it like this, you can just easily do it by saying you get this value which you have there, and you say plus, then you get the value of the coefficient which is there. So where there's I here, where there's I there, you see that there's what? There's a 1 in front of there. So you just say 4 squared, then you get the coefficient there, 1 squared, then you're saying plus this. That's what we did here, 4 squared plus 1 squared, and we got the 17, which was there, and which is the same as just that if you had worked it out by distributing everything there. Is that clear now? Okay, so all right. So let's move on to that one. So this what his is gonna cut, and we have to do the last two questions. So when it cuts, just rejoin. Do not feel lazy to rejoin. Just rejoin, then we do the last two questions. So I'll start this one, but it's probably going to cut before we finish. So start this one first. So now we're saying 2 over 3 plus I. Then I have plus 3 over 2 plus I. So how do I work out these ones? How do I work out what I have here? So you can do it in parts, first of all, where you say you work out this, and then you come and work out this. Or if you want, you can just find the denominator here, and then you can be done with whatever is there. So let's first take the first approach where we work them out separately. So I say work out 2 plus 3 plus I. So how do I work out this? I have to rationalize this denominator. So I'll multiply by the conjugate. So I have 3 minus I over 3 minus I. Then here I'm just going to get on top, that'll be 6 minus 2I. Then down that. All right, so to continue now, as we said, here what we have to do is, so when we multiply this out, on top we get this, then down, so we can square the 9, then square the 1, then we just, square the 3 and square the 9, so you have 9 plus 1 here. Then you just get, you're going to have x minus 6 minus I divided by 10, and this here is going to give us, dividing 10 into each of these, you just get 3 over 5, then you get the other one to be 1 over 5I, like this. So you kind of get something like this. And of course, to be handy even, because we're still working this out with the other one, to just leave it like this. In this form, we'll come back to this one. Let's do the second one. I'll do it in yellow. So you see it. So it's 3 over 2 plus I. Then do this conjugate like that. Then there down, you get 2 minus I. Then you see that you have, that's going to give you 6 minus 3I. Down there, you get 4 plus I, 5. So you get 5 there. So you just get 4 plus 1, which is going to be equal to 6 minus 3I divided by 5, like this. So it's easy. So these, check the yellow part, and these, they all have a common denominator, divisor of what? Of 5. Then there's a plus sign in between here, as you can see in the question. So we just add those two, bring those two together. The one at the left, the one at the right. So observe, you have 3 minus I divided by 5. Then you just add in the 6 minus 3I, then divided by 5. Okay, so I can then say all this goes, goes. Okay, then this means I'm gonna have 5 there. Then just add what's in the denominator, in the numerator, so negative I, then 3I, like that. And this here is just going to give you 9. Then you have 9 minus, that's 9 minus 4I, then divided by 5. And of course, this is just 9 over 5 minus 4 over 5I, like this. So your real part is this one, and your imaginary part is including the negative sign here. So the real part is 9/5, real part. I'll introduce it, I'll write it like this. Then the imaginary part is -4/5. This here is the imaginary part, like that. So this is what you get. So now let's see if we would get the same value if we had used another approach, which is just going directly and saying, okay, let me find my common denominator where I have this 3 plus I and say plus 3/2 plus I. So the common denominator then becomes 3 plus I like that, and then you have 2 plus I. So such that when you divide this one into there, you remain with this part and you have 2 multiplying by 2 plus I like that. Yes, then on the other side you have 3 multiplying by 3 plus I. So I want to see if I would get the same value if I did this. So then on top when I multiply I get 4 plus 2I. Then the other one is going to be plus 9 plus 3I. Then you just have 3 plus I, then divided by 2 plus I. Then here you can add this and that, and add that and that. So you have 13 plus, what value will you get when you add? That will be plus 5I. Then let's try to multiply out what we have in the bottom, and we are going to get, you have 6 there. Multiply that, you get 6. Multiply 3 by what? You get 3I. Okay, you get 3I, and then you going to multiply I by what, which gives you 2I, and the other one that just gives you plus I squared. And this here you see you're going to get 13 plus 5I, and divided by, so here you get 5, you get -1, then just get 5 here. That will be 5 plus 5I. So you get something like this down there. And yeah, so when you get it now like this, what do you do next? So that there has not finished. I have to continue. So what I got 13 plus 5I divided by 5 plus 5I. To continue this, I have to multiply by the conjugate of the denominator, which is 5 minus 5I divided by 5 minus 5I. Then this here is going to simplify to, so on top, you can see it's kind of a bit complicated, or getting more complicated than what we did at first, where we just separate them and do them and then just come add them. See, and this here would take up your time. So what is 13 by 5? What is 13 by 5? What does that give you? So you have 13 by 5, and that gives you 65. So you have 65 there, because when you multiply 13 by that 5, then multiply by the -5, you get -65I. Then 5 by 5, you're going to get that will be plus 25I. Then you get -25I there. Then down there, just squaring that, then you're going to have 25, because when you square 25, then you have plus 25 on the other side. Okay, so now simplify, or yeah, simplify what you have there on the bottom. Down, there's I squared there. So here means this is going to give you a positive value. It's going to give you, since there you have, where there's I squared, you put -1. You have -1 by this -25, you get positive 25. So you can add that positive 25 to the 65, and when you add that, you just get 90 here, so you get 90. Then you can subtract these two. You subtract 65, negative 65 plus 25. Uh, you just get 40. So when you get 40, that will be minus 40i. Then observe that there down you are getting 25 plus 25 gives you 50. And you can simplify this as 90 over 50 minus 40 over 50i. And of course, this just gives you, simplify this. Uh, 10 can divide into both of them. You get 9 over 5. Same there, you get 4 over uh, 5. Okay, did we do that right? Yes. So you get 4 over 5i, like that. And of course, this is the same value we found, but it was easier just to break them down and then calculate and then come to find it. So it won't change the value at all if you go this approach, but the first one we did is gonna be faster. All right, so we answered the last question by the easy approach, then we call it a day. Unless there are any questions on this one. Okay, so the last one just tells me to say have 1 over x plus I like this, then I have 1 minus x plus I like that. And they're telling me to find this. So I can, so I have x plus iy. I can rationalize this by saying x minus, then I have iy like that, then x minus yi. Yeah, then this here is just going to give me, so on top I just get x, uh, so on top I just get x minus yi. Down when I square x, square y, I just get x squared plus y squared. Then what does this then give me? What does this then simplify to? So you check, yeah, I have this here. Yeah, I'll end it here. For the other one, it's just that there's a negative there, meaning what's on top here will be the same. I just multiply it by -1 and have negative x plus yi divided by x squared plus y squared. So now I can bring these two together. I've already multiplied the negative if you've seen and observed. So bringing them together, I just get the first part is x minus yi. Then I have x squared plus y squared. Then, of course, that's going to be negative, or if I say plus, it's a plus, because I've already multiplied that negative, I get x, negative x squared plus yi over x squared plus yi squared. So the denominator is the same, which is x squared plus y squared. Then you see, you bring these together, get x, that will be minus that, iyi plus iyi, like that. This here on top, you just get 0 over x squared plus y squared. So this divided into that gives you 0. And after getting that 0, so you know that now your imaginary part and your real part, so that is going to be equal to 0 plus 0i. So meaning this here is your what? Real part, and 0 again is going to be your what? Imaginary part. Okay, so that's how we do these sets of questions. Unless there are any questions, today's class ends here. Remember to register through the link. It's given in the group, and how to register, the video is easily there and guided there. All other videos, full content will be and only be posted via the website. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next class.